Hello everyone, welcome to Plenty with Sulo. Today our guest is the CEO of Hatch. She's Randhula Silva. Hi Randhula.
Hi Sulo.
This is just going to be an informal discussion. Randhula, how you got into Hatch?
Interesting story. I still do a lot of work with the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Jaffna, as well as Colombo, with my former role as the Chief Disruptor at GIZ, the German Development Corporation. So about 3-4 years back, I got into contact with Jeevan, who wanted to work more closely with us and also do more impactful work in Colombo and Jaffna. And I was, by the time, also very involved working together with the YAL IT Hub in Jaffna. So I made the connection between Hatch, Jeevan back then, and then YAL IT Hub and GIZ, and we made a hub there in Jaffna. So that began before Colombo, Hatch Column Jaffna. It's a partnership between YAL IT, Hatch and GIZ, which was my initial role as GIZ. And then I transformed into the Hatch. I still work for both places, and it's a very interesting role to play.
If I ask, what is your background? Like, you know, who you are? Because, okay, we know now what Hatch is, but who is Randhula?
Okay. See, this is the problem with us. We're not so comfortable talking about all of this. But I studied at Museus College. I was the head prefect at Museus. A lot of good things had happened to me in my life as accidents. So I think head prefect at Museus was also a pleasant accident, which gave me a lot of grooming. I was a very shy child. Not what you see in me today at all, but that really pushed me to be a public speaker and all of that, so it broke my boundaries in that way. And then I got into university, University of Colombo, which is also an accident, because not many, during my time there wasn't any head prefect who made it to university.
Yeah, because they have much commitment.
Yeah, a lot of more. I was never in class. I liked it outside of class, doing drama to events at school. But one teacher who said something to me really made me study really hard the last 3 months. She said, "Oh, ithin Randhula prize giving ke stage eකට naginne speech එක දෙන්න විතරයිනේ." So I was never the academic brainchild or star kid in school because I was doing so much of other things. But this made me really want to say, no, I can do this. And it made me study really hard for the last 3 months, and I got into university. And when my father told me, "You've got 4 years," I'm like, no way, that can't be my results. So that really changed my life, going to university, because it gave me a very different exposure. Coming from all-girls school, I got into this mass society with boys and even girls from different backgrounds, different societal backgrounds, as well as different religious backgrounds, because this is a Buddhist school. And here I got to understand the context of different people, which made me realize the world is much more vibrant and bigger. And I was so interested in development economics, and that's what I studied in university. And after I graduated, I did my master's in development studies. I have always been committed and drawn to helping communities grow. That really is my passion. And I think that background made who you are today. So a lot of people, especially the corporate thinks Hatch is a place where you can get a workplace, but it's more than that, because as you said, it's an entrepreneurship hub. But if you ask someone, they will say, "Oh, you can get a place to work in Hatch." Yeah.
But are you all really marketing the workplace or the entrepreneurship hub, if I may ask?
Thank you for that question, Sulo. It's a very interesting phenomena I'm dealing with right now. We never market ourselves or even place ourselves as a co-working space. But the society gives that to us. So Hatch is a co-working space. That's the first thing anybody says, because that's what's also visible. As a structure and as a building, all the beautiful spaces we have created here. But what happens in the background is so much more to that. We are a hub for entrepreneurs and startups that helps them grow. And we do this through various programs we have at Hatch. And we don't do this only alone. We go into a lot of partnerships because I believe everything can be achieved together in collaboration. We can't do anything alone.
That's true.
And if we want to develop as a country, we have to play our part and join hands with people who are doing their own parts as well. So at Hatch, we have different accelerator programs. Good Life Accelerator, which I'm attached to, is one. We launched that last year. We're about to launch a FinTech Accelerator together with the Lankan Angel Network. And we do have a strong and large pool of mentors and a very good mentorship program for startups, as well as programs like F-Up Fridays, Smart Ups for Startups, Hatch Open House, and today actually we are launching a program called Kick-Ass for female entrepreneurs. So the first mentorship program for female founders. It's going to be a boot camp. It's a very intense and focused program for female entrepreneurs to grow. And why it's titled as female entrepreneurs is because beyond what it takes to develop a business plan or a finance model or looking at valuation in your company, as female founders, we also understand there's a different battle altogether. How do we help you and help your mindset overcome those battles is something we will also look at in the Kick-Ass program. So we do a lot of these things in the background, restricted for people only at Hatch. This is open for anybody to sign up and participate. We are selective on whom we choose. It's open for anybody, but we select who would actually be committed to this and who has the potential to take the best out of it. So that's how we become a hub for entrepreneurs.
So I see that like a lot of millennials are connected with you all. So most of your, I would say, project names are mostly goes with millennials. Do you think, because it's, Colombo millennials are completely different to the outside Colombo, if you look at it. So are we looking millennials as entrepreneurs or millennials as professionals?
I'm a millennial.
Yeah, I know that. That's why I asked.
Millennials, interestingly, so in the entrepreneur space, you get millennials and also the Gen Z.
Yep.
Gen Z, I would look at as people who are coming out of university or coming out of school who are really eager to do something on their own, mostly idea stage, early stage startups or inspiring entrepreneurs. If you look at the entrepreneurs only, it really is a lot of millennials. And right now, millennials are both corporates and both professionals and entrepreneurs, and mostly professionals who are doing a side gig, their own thing as an entrepreneurial experience. And I see a lot of transition, who are working in a 9-to-5 job, who are brave enough to say no to a 6-figure paycheck and come into entrepreneur sphere and say, that's it, I'm going to work for myself. So millennials I see as a transitional generation from professional into the entrepreneur space, but being an entrepreneur in a very professional way.
Very professional.
And also why they are different from a businessman and entrepreneur is because they come with a vision to create a difference, to mark a change, and to help Sri Lanka grow. I see that in Sri Lankan millennials a lot, and it inspires me every day.
Yeah, I agree. Even though we complain about millennials, what I see in millennials is they bring something to the table and they deliver it. They are not going to be in that. They deliver and they move forward. So this is the difference I think we should understand. So I agree with you totally on that. Then because you are more onto technology, but IT and all that, yet Sri Lanka, the figure says we are in IT literacy is just 27.5%, right? So coming on to entrepreneurship to change the world, to change Sri Lanka. And if you look at who are the population who's using the IT literacy is 25 to 30 years, right? So do you think without technology, without IT literacy, can the newcomers, I would say millennials, can they go forward as entrepreneurs? What is Hatch is doing about that?
Can they go forward without IT literacy?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Information technology is a key stepping stone. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but it's definitely a mandatory stepping stone. It's almost like English.
Yes.
It's mandatory for you to scale out and be successful in your endeavors. And it also brings forth a very different mindset. the growth mentality, the non-linear way of thinking beyond limitations. All of this information technology assists these ways of thinking in terms of entrepreneurs. But since you mentioned about the IT literacy, there's a lot of things that we try to do as Hatch and in partnership with other people who are working on similar spheres to uplift the knowledge of IT literacy, not only in Colombo but beyond that as well. And our partners, YAL IT, is doing a lot of work in Jaffna for that, especially the coding schools that they conduct, which attracts a lot of women as well.
But I hope because I know YAL does a lot, but then if you look at Kilinochchi is the least IT literacy in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So that is one of major developing areas, but very slow areas.
Yeah, so if you look at the numbers, yes. If you look at the success stories between YAL IT Jaffna Uki Coding School and YAL IT Kilinochchi Uki Coding School, Kilinochchi is by far the best.
Okay.
So there is lack of knowledge, but there is no lack of capacity or skill. So all you need is somebody to go there and help them understand and grow, and the pickup speed is just like that.
It's just they are waiting for the opportunity.
Exactly.
So there's a gap between the skills and the opportunities available. That's
right.
what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree on that. So coming back to Hatch and the different things you all are introducing, and I think most of the people are grabbing with you all and they are collaborating with you all. Do you think that moving forward, that Sri Lanka will have a developed Hatch team to take over? Because most of the people are asking for jobs when we should be the job creators. But then again, they say creators are there, will there be employment? So how your Hatch is moving forward with this concept?
It's almost like you read my mind. Because not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago, when we were initiating our first accelerator, there was a big gap in the requirement of the skill set because the startup and the entrepreneurial ecosystem itself is now evolving.
Yeah.
There's a group of players who are investors, who have the vision for the country and for the ecosystem, but also you need executioners.
Yes.
And for me to hire the right set of skills, it was not easy. It was very difficult, and it also took a lot of training.
Yeah.
You get somebody who has the right attitude and the skill set or compatibility to develop into a skill set we want to, and you train them. And that is because Hatch is also a startup. It's very resource intensive and time intensive. But now we just announced a new role for program and community associate to lead our startup development programs, and massive amount of applications. And we are scheduling interviews this week, and it's so difficult to even shortlist because there's a lot of people who are outside the ecosystem who are willing to now come in and share the work with us. So I think it's a really good indicator and a signal to say there's more people who are willing to connect, to step out of ordinary and conventional jobs, who are willing to share their skill set to help us grow. So this is not only for Hatch, but overall ecosystem builders. I think we are stepping into a good time.
Yeah, I agree, and it's something really going to happen, and Sri Lanka needs change. So I'm coming back with, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with investment, right? They say because they do business plan and then they go for microfinancing, but it's very difficult to get financing when you do not have, because Sri Lanka think that entrepreneurship is producing something. There's a different of. So how, because I know that angeling investing system you all have introduced, how you think that will help the startup community in Sri Lanka?
I mean, Lanka Angel Network has been doing this work for quite a while, and they have supported a lot of entrepreneurs in that sphere, and we have more and more bodies who are looking at different startups at different levels. But I think what investors struggle with is also to find the right entrepreneur with the right kind of product that fits the market, not only to scale out, but create also an impact. It can be two different things. Sri Lanka might not have the next unicorn in the next coming 3 months, but have the most impactful social entrepreneur or project, developing a very different deliverable or impact to the Sri Lankan economy. So these are different ways to look at it, and that's where the accelerators and the incubation programs across the country comes into play. How do you get an entrepreneur ready for investment? So investment has always been ready, but the entrepreneurs haven't been ready, is what I see. So now there's a lot of programs to funnel entrepreneurs into those investing bodies and angels, and I think the future is going to be bright that way.
Okay, now all these entrepreneurships, professional careers, we talk about after they're coming out of universities or A-levels. But India has started up from last year that giving entrepreneurship while they're in school, becoming your own entrepreneur. Yeah. Do you think Sri Lanka is ready to take that kind of a turn?
It's already happening.
It's already happening.
It's already happening, and the beauty of Sri Lanka is Sri Lankans don't wait for the government to do it.
That's very
If you
true.
take tsunami, if you take the floods we had, if you take any national crisis or development, people are so resilient, but also very forthcoming and takes initiatives into their own hands and do things. So we have a lot of people who are working at the school level itself in their own capacity as organizations or community initiatives to plant the seed of entrepreneurship in the minds of children now itself. And that's really what's going to make the difference in Sri Lanka. It's not about what curriculum is in school. It's about giving them this mentality of not being afraid to share an idea, or not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to try, and to challenge the status quo. And I see this a lot coming into the schools, and I wish we had that when we were young. And that really is going to help us make a big transition. To your point, Sulo, about IT-intensive startups, this is something that we actually are trying to address with a program that we are doing at Hatch. That's the Good Life Accelerator, which I couldn't highlight during my answer to you. IT is very highly demanded, in demand in the startup sphere, and also the adaptability and the transition is easy. It's not very cost intensive to make a startup work that is software oriented or IT enabled, tech enabled. But there's also a lot of resources in Sri Lanka that are non-IT, not only the people, but the resources.
Yes.
We have a lot of large-scale industries that are heavily agricultural, for instance. We have a massive potential that is unexplored in tourism, for instance, the wellness industry. So all of these things we see are possibilities to explore and merge with this new tech trend, and the new breed of entrepreneurs that are stepping into the tech sphere have a lot of opportunity in these unexplored territories to connect to and help these old industries transform into the future.
Agreed.
That's what we're trying to do with the Good Life Accelerator, to look at agriculture, wellness, travel, these kind of non-tech real life sectors. How do we connect these with entrepreneurs who are willing to take them on to the next level and make them tech-enabled industries? So it's a very interesting program to be designing and be attached to. And yeah, they're having fun.
Okay, finally, because you're a millennial and I have two millennials also. So I'm just asking because there are more accusations from people like us, right, from our age, not me, because I'm living with millennials. They say that y'all are not taking responsibility, but when you look at the my way of thinking, millennials are more responsible and accountable if they are given a task. It's just that we have to trust them.
Yeah.
So your message to people like us, to trust y'all, what will be your message to?
So I think what I've seen in my parents and also in my bosses previously that I've worked with, right now I'm working with a millennial boss, and it's the best thing that happened to me. What I've seen is, again, this, you try to have control because you've seen the world in a very different light. and a lot of different struggles. I mean, what my mother went through as a working woman to what I'm going through as a working woman, completely different.
Yeah.
But the context has changed,
Yes.
and the future is changing as we speak. I will be so irrelevant probably in 5 years. It's changing so fast. So I think it's very important that you, like you said, trust in the process and let it flow. And we do things very differently that are not seen as usual or conventional, but we get it done, and we get it done again with much more vigor and efficiency, even though it's not the tried and tested way. So the best that the Gen X and the other generations can do is help us with your expert insights. That's something that we would really like to have. What you experienced working in different fields for the past decades, and help us steer the way, because we can really cut across bottlenecks and barriers. If we can't jump over, we'll huddle under, or we'll just find a different route altogether. But just trust the process and help us make the difference.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Randhula. As she said, it's time that we trust them. Let them make failures, mistakes, but they will find their own way. It's just we need trust and believe in them. Thank you. Be tuned to Daily Mirror Online. Plenty with Sulo.